Awesome. So Liam, maybe the best place to start, man. Tell me a little bit more about your journey and how, clean from zero started. What kind of inspired that journey?
Yeah, dude, definitely. So, I'm born in a small town over in Canada. Born and raised Canadian, and I grew up with parents that actually owned their own cleaning company. So they owned a residential and commercial cleaning business when I grew up, and cleaning was the main thing that put the food on the table for me and my family. It's pretty crazy. So I grew up around it in the entire space. So I got some knowledge and experience in that fact. And so the knowledge comes in that kind of source. And then the experience comes from when I went over into the US and um, I played lacrosse growing up, and I ended up getting a scholarship for lacrosse over in the US for undergraduate. Did 4 years of undergraduate over there for business, nothing crazy, right? Just typical business degree. Ended up graduating, and when I graduated, I had no idea what I want to do with my life. So I ended up being a realtor in the US. And then I got sick of the rat race. I was like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I don't want to do this anymore. And so I, out of instinct, just decided to copy my parents. I'm like, they did it. I'm sure I can do it too. So I ended up starting my own house cleaning company. It was 2 years out of college. So about 4.5, 5 years ago is what it was. 5 years ago now. And ended up scaling up to just over six figures in the first year. And then second year, I almost drove the business into the ground. I didn't know what I was doing, so I was lost. I ended up actually launching the business. I was living in Philly as the realtor, working as a realtor, and I launched the business in my hometown in Canada. So launched it fully remote, different side of the country. Like I said, did 100K that first year. Then it dropped down, went to 30K in credit card debt in year two. Crazy. Made a lot of mistakes with marketing, a lot of mistakes with hires. And then after that next year, when I kind of bounced back, got some learnings, read a book, read a couple books, gained some knowledge, ended up scaling up the company to doing it was around just under 2 mil of top line over the
Wow.
next 2 to 3.5 years, which is pretty crazy.
Wow. That's crazy. And
Yeah.
that's yeah, thanks for sharing that, man. And on that, so like what was those like, if there was one or two like main mistakes that you made there that, you could kind of share and share the lessons from that?
Yeah. So I guess mistake number one was not finding the right people and not hiring the right people. And that kind of is instilled with the values and the mission of the business itself. I was very focused on, you know what, I got to make money. I got to make money. And you know what, I'm just going to put people in places and the job will get done. That's how I thought it worked. Excuse me. But the truth is, that's not how it works. You need to find people that are actually invested in what you're doing and they're invested in the mission of the company and they want to help you grow an actual company over a long period of time. So that was the first thing. I didn't do that. I rushed into hiring people, didn't find the right people, didn't put them in the right places. Second thing I would say is I didn't understand customer lifetime value. So I never focused on how to sell to a customer and then retain them to keep paying me for a long period of time. I started understanding that very quickly. And then what ended up happening was it went right to the top line and as well as bottom line of making more profit for the company, as well as increasing the revenue overall. So we did a lot better at retaining customers over a long period of time. So honestly, that was the two biggest levers that I decided to pull on more going into year three, year two and a half, three.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, man. I have so many questions from that specifically, but like on the hiring side, so what changed? Like, did you put systems and processes in place, or was it the values that kind of determined the framework or the lens that you looked, at the people through that you were going to hire?
It's a great question. So it was very much the values and the lens, the values that were put in place that I put in place that helped me create a lens of what I want to filter and what people I want to have within the company. And so it took me a while to understand. I used to think like mission, vision, values are like corny. They're not cool. I thought they're just for like big corporate companies. But the truth is, there's a reason Google has values and a mission is because they're Google. They're massive. And so I ended up taking that into heart, and I decided to put it in place for my little cleaning company, and it ended up working because it just funneled down and created a snowball effect. And it all the values of what we do, our mission, what we're trying to reach what we wanted to do as a company as a whole within the cleaning business, people started adopting those values and people started to, hey, listen, I'm going to go above and beyond for the customer because ultimately we're on this mission together. And if I don't do it, then I'm not holding myself accountable for the rest of the team and I'm letting everyone else down. is kind of like what I did. And I created that environment that really was having A players and really pushed the agenda forward to grow the cleaning company.
That's amazing, man. Like it's one of those things that I'm on the exact same page. I always used to think that having like values, mission, vision was corny, right? And it wasn't until like literally like late last year that like I went through all that stuff myself. And now it's crazy how like you just make decisions through the lens of, you know, your values. It's like, okay, one of our values is simplicity, right? Like simple scales, fancy fails. And so like my team's like, hey, we should add this and add that. And I'm just like, well, I think it's a great idea, but it really just makes things like more complex, right? So it's interesting. And like, what would you say, like, how much did that actually attribute? Like, if you could put a percentage on it, how much would you say that actually attributed to, you know, the company's growth?
Oh, I would over 100%, big time. Because if you think about it, it just snowballs down, right? Like you can kind of look at it the lens of everything. So like you just said, like simple fails, fancy. What'd you say? Sorry.
Simple scales, fancy fails.
Exactly. My bad. So like in saying that, like it goes through everything. It goes to who you hire, how do they act as a team member, what kind of ideas are brought to the table, how are they communicating with each other, how are they communicating with management, are they showing up every day and like pushing forward the right things, and like so it goes across everything, and I think it's just a good anchor to pull on that helps everything, the foundation that'll ultimately create more revenue within the company, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, definitely. And before you said there was one or two books that you read kind of when you were going through that period
Yeah.
of failures. What were those books?
So the biggest book that I always push for everyone, and we give it out in our program, our coaching program, we give it out for free, is Traction by Gino Wickman.
Man, that's
Um,
literally the book that I've just been reading, and that's where I got the whole mission, vision, values from. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, that's
no, you're good.
great
So
book.
that's why initially like it planted the seed for me, where
Mhm.
everything, right? So that book changed the entire trajectory of my company, myself financially, the business financially. It put me in a whole different trajectory of life, to be honest with you. So it definitely helped a lot, big time. That was probably the most impactful one that I can think of off the top of my head. There's a bunch of other ones. I don't want to start sourcing ones I forget the author from, but that was the biggest one I would say.
Oh,
So
awesome. Yeah, definitely a great book. And Liam, like, did you have like mentors like throughout this process? And like, are you, you know, getting mentored by people now still?
yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I went this aspect of life where I thought mentors are goofy. They're not. It's always funny as like an entrepreneur. You always go through a mindset shift always throughout the cycle. So I went through this cycle of like mentors, don't need them. I can figure it out. I got YouTube. I got all these things. I don't need them. I got books. I'll do all this. And so initially when I first was starting out, I was like, that was my mindset. But then as time shifted, I started really quickly adapting into understanding buying my time back and the idea of what my hours actually worth and what my time's actually worth personally in life. And the truth is, what I've understood, and I've taken this to a T in life, is like if you can buy your way to success, buy it. When it comes to mentors. And so I have gone very hard into the mentorship route through myself over the past couple of years here, through investing in coaching. I mean, today, funny enough, actually, I just had a call with they're not a mentorship or coaching company, but they do have some coaching and they're going to help us. And it's like a $15,000 product. But I'm like, you know what? The time that it's going to save me, I will earn so much more than that $15,000 compared to me trying to figure it out myself over the next 90 to 120 days. So I've gone all in on coaching. I have many coaches. When I was starting, I didn't have many mentors, but I had people I looked up to. I had people that not were direct mentors, but I had people that I looked up to that I wanted to resemble, is what I'll say.
Yeah, awesome. So you kind of just modeled their, you know, success and
Yeah.
followed.
It was
Yeah.
very much so like I've always found like for myself personally, and I've always reflected on this is like I see individuals, and maybe this is just a human being thing. I don't know. Maybe everyone does this, but you see other individuals where you're like, that I like that person. I want to be like that person. And so I'm going to try to resemble everything they do to pick up the traits from them that I like that they have. And so I've always kind of done that a little bit, which has helped out a lot.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm very the same. Like you see people that, yeah, they're aspirational and it's just like, you know, you can kind of future pace and see yourself doing that same thing as them. You're just like a few steps behind. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, Liam, you've had like a bunch of, different mentors and coaches. Like, what is like one of the best pieces of advice that you've ever received that, you'd like to share with others?
I would say done is better than perfect. That is something that I've learned is like, and also I got another, I guess, kind of a goofier one. But done is better than perfect. That is a big one. I think a lot of the times when people are getting started in entrepreneurship, or maybe they're new to something and some type of situation, people like to be perfectionists and make everything the best they can make it before they even take action on it. And so I've gone the complete opposite route my entire life. And I never really realized I was doing this, but I've always done it, is just get started, figure it out. Just start the thing. Don't make it perfect. Take action on it first, then figure out what's wrong with it. And so I've done that with every business I've had. It wasn't intentional, I promise, but it was a later piece of advice that my mentor gave me, or someone that I looked up to gave me, that I was like, hey, wait, I've kind of been doing that for a little while now. And I didn't really realize I was doing it, but I think everyone else should do it too, because it makes a lot of sense.
Definitely, man. Like imperfect action, right? That's my kind of philosophy on that. It's like, yeah, you will get nowhere if you wait for things to be perfect, right? You got to take the action and then implement. And that's, of course, where, having a good mentor can come in and really say, okay, do this, not that. Um, awesome. Well, Liam, man, I appreciate all the value and insights that you shared there. That was, yeah, man, I love it. It's great to see other people love traction as well.
Of course, it's a good book. Everyone should read it.
No doubt, man. Right, dude, I'm gonna pause the recording. I could have gone with that for ages, but I try not to go too long because when you transcribe it into an article, it could take like, yeah, we want to condense the best bits. But yeah, man, I love that that Traction was that game-changing book. I listened to it 3 times, like from like November to December last year. And that's when I
Yeah.
took a bit of time off over like the Christmas sort of, New Year period and was like, okay, I just really kind of thought through the vision, mission, values, kind of set up everything like for the level 10 meeting, the VTO, Vision Traction Organizer. It's